I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Friday, April the 19th. Roll the stone away. This cattle market has risen. Hallelujah. It's springtime too. Everybody's getting warmer temperatures. Time to put that felt hat away for a few months, and why don't you go ahead and send it off and have it cleaned anyway. That ammonia smells so bad it stinks the whole room up when you walk in. But this fat market, we didn't know it had that much in it, but we have achieved some new highs for the spring, and we thought a few weeks ago when we got to 128 that was it, but really stout late in the week, and finally all those the floods and cold weather and the miserable winter that the guys up in the northern plains had to spend, all the weight loss they had on their cattle, the tremendously high cost of gains up there, a lot closer to $1 than anything you're really striving for. It's finally starting to pay off, and we're getting into some more demand. These packers are really wanting to crank the kills up, and your consumers are ready for some meat. They're tired of, the Catholics are tired of eating fish every Friday night. They're wanting to take mama out for a steak, and nobody knows how to cook fish anyway, and every red-blooded American male thinks he's a chef when it comes to scorching a steak on the grill, and that's great. Let them have at it. But it's all starting to come together now, and we thought we missed it, but it's really looking good. And boy, did your big feeder cattle and what's left of the true stocker cattle jump on Thursday. We saw some impressive quotes on Wednesday, more impressive on Thursday, and just a really good day for the markets on your cattle. Let's look at the board on Thursday. April live cattle futures up $1.60 at 128.52. Your spot was higher. All your others were mixed. June was up 30 cents. It was one of your bigger movers, especially on the upside on Thursday, but up 30 cents on the June at 122.67. And your feeder cattle, April feeder cattle contracts up 37 cents at 145.70. May up 92 at 151.52. Get out into your late summer, your fall contracts. October sitting at 162.40. I know that sounds high, but those are different animals we're talking about, not the ones you've been feeding all winter long. These are true yearling green cattle that's been out there on that cheap game, getting that grass, getting their frame put around them, getting stretched out, getting the ability to put weight on. And those cattle that come off of there, they will absolutely perform for you like no other, and that's why they're so high, because your cash index is going to be that high anyway for anybody trying to buy them, whether it's in a sale barn or in the country. But let's look at this fat cattle deal. Your cash is actually premium to the board in the northern plains anyway, and actually it's probably going to be about par with the weighted average, but we'll wait to see. But good movement this week. I've been going on and on about how we continue to lose negotiated cash trade every week. We don't have nearly as many as we did a year ago the same week, but this week when we get them all totaled up, it's going to be a good movement at a sharply higher price, and that's great. But you know, we traded on Wednesday in the southern plains at 126, which was $2 better, and we weren't complaining too much about that. But remember last week we were like 127, 128, 127 and a half. A lot on some of your late sales in the northern plains. They come out $1.30 on Thursday there, and that's great. A lot of live sales too, in Nebraska especially at 130. Be $2.50 higher for sure. And your dress trade was good too, 207 to 208. That 208 is pretty salty. That'd be $3 higher, and so that was a great deal. And as happy as we were about that, lo and behold, we get one of those at cattle trades tweets late in the afternoon or in the early evening from Consolidated Beef Producers. Says $129 for Kansas cattle. Wow. That is significant, and it was only one trade, you know, a few pins there, but I tell you what, it's significant. It's something to springboard us for the next week, and it's something to make us feel really good about. And if you're a producer there, especially if you're an independent producer that doesn't have a lot of cattle ready a lot of the time, and you're thinking, wow, 129, 130, 208, I can't ever get that. Call one of these cooperative marketing groups. I mentioned Consolidated Beef Producers. Their headquarters is right here in my hometown, Canyon, Texas, but you don't have to be in Texas. You can be anywhere, especially in the 5-area feeding region, but even on the outskirts. If you're there, get a hold of them. Tell them what you have, let them kind of coach you on whether you need to be on the show list or on your show list or not. If you're a bigger feedlot, give them your show list. Let them manage the sales of your fat cattle. They've got enough cattle put together that they've got some leverage, and I tell you what, they're right up there at the top of the market. They're completely transparent. They tweet out their sales every time they have a sale. Every week, all the sales are tweeted out, and if you're not already doing it, get on @CattleTrades and you get the Consolidated Beef Producers tweets on what cattle sold and what they brought, where they were at. I tell you what, it's a great tool, and it's unbelievable that somebody that handles that much is that transparent. But that's what we need, guys. Pull the shades up and let's look around and try to help each other a little bit. And for you guys that are just turning your numbers in for formulas every week, your numbers are important to trying to keep this negotiated cash trade together. We need all the numbers we can get. We're already sitting where the last few years we're sitting where your packers have 80% of their needs taken care of already. They just have to trade around on that 20. That is evaporating even more this calendar year so far. They've been more like 85% of their needs. But those few numbers you think, well, I'm not a big enough fish to make a difference. Yes, you are. And we've got to start pooling our efforts, guys. And you got to start being part of the solution instead of part of the problem. And you look over the fence at some of your hog producers if you're wondering where this thing's going. If we don't start getting together and trying to take back this trade a little bit. But box beef cutout values, they were high. They've gained quite a bit of ground on the choice, but the select's been pretty much steady. But that's typical this time of year as we get right into grilling season. We've got a lot of holidays coming up, and so people are going to be looking for steaks, middle meat steaks to put on the grill, and then they're going to want the choice, and so you start seeing your choice select spread widen out. But we've seen it where the select stayed steady and the choice is gaining ground, and that's better than the alternative. But on Thursday afternoon, your choice cuts $233.06, up 30 cents, and selects at $219.46, down 70 cents. And that's about a $13.60 spread on your choice select spread. Your slaughter, very aggressive, 485,000 through Thursday. That's 14,000 more than last week, 14,000 more than the same week a year ago. You think, well, 14,000 is not that much. No, when they only trade for a very few handful of cattle, 14,000 in a week's time is a ton. And it makes a difference, and it's part of the reason we were able to gain some ground in the market this week. Your weights are not coming down as much as we had thought, but they're staying low. Your actual dressed steer weight for the week ending April 6th come out at 865 pounds again. That was the same as the previous report, but 7 pounds lighter than the same week a year ago. We had a cattle on feed report on Thursday because everything's closed up on Friday for Good Friday, but thank goodness people weren't looking too much forward to it, and they're not going to pay too much attention to it, and it was mostly neutral anyway. But your cattle on feed inventories April the 1st come out to be 102, which is right there with what they had estimated. Your average of the analyst guess at 101.8, that is steady, that's absolutely neutral. Placements, of course they always do, come in a little bit higher than what everybody had expected, about 1 percentage point higher than expectations at 104.8% of the same time a year ago. Marketing's kind of disappointed. It's just the way the days fell, but 96.5% of the same time a year ago, and that was very close to what expectations were. That's a neutral deal. We're not going to talk another thing about it. It's just one of those reports that comes out every month, and it's pretty good information. Some of it's kind of herky-jerky. It showed that your heifers on feed in Texas were way over what they normally are, and sometimes you look at that and then it makes you kind of question everything. But anyway, we'll talk about your feeder cattle markets now. Your real-time index on Cattle Market Central based on the 800-pound steer late on Thursday, sitting at 146.51. Boy, has that thing gained ground the last couple of weeks. But that was up 38 cents from Wednesday's late afternoon quote. Look at some of these sales on Thursday, and Thursday's getting to be a big sale day where maybe it wouldn't traditionally be. But Pratt, Kansas, 4,300 head. Feeder steers there steady to $4 higher. Feeder heifers steady to $2 lower. Calves were not well tested, but look at this quote out of Pratt. 54 head of 957-pound steers in Pratt on Thursday bring 143.85, weighing over 9.5, guys. Look at another sale in Kansas there, straight up north from there. Farmers and Ranchers Livestock in Salina, Kansas. 4,650 head of cattle on offer there. Good market on everything. Ranged from $2 to $10 higher. Of course, with the $10 higher being on the lighter weights and the $2 higher on the heavier weights. But everything was better. Look at an individual quote from Salina. 60 head of 867-pound steers bring 148.25. I tell you what, just a good sale all over. Go up to Mitchell, South Dakota. They always have big sales on Thursday. 5,200 head in Mitchell. The feeder steers weighing over 1,000 pounds were still $1 to $3 higher. Feeder steers under 1,000 were $4 to $8 higher. Feeder heifers steady to $2 higher. And good quote there from a good market reporter, Justin Lumpkin, my old buddy. Always does a good job, and you can learn something reading his market reports. But we got to go to western Nebraska for the humdinger, of course. Ogallala, Nebraska, Dwayne Mays and company up there. Nearly 5,500 head of cattle at Ogallala. Boy, they have good sales. Look at this market report on Cattle Market Central out of Ogallala on Thursday. Look at the popular weights and look at the weighted average prices on them. This is not the hand-picked cattle. This is all the cattle. All those steers are in there are all the steers, and the heifers are all them. Not split up and picking and choosing. Look at the steers on your best popular weight. 641 head of 5-weight steers. Had a lot of good calves there. Weighed 547 on the average at 191.85. You can't go anywhere else and find one individual lot bring that kind of money weighing nearly 5.5. That's what all the 5-weight steers averaged in Ogallala. Look at the next bigger cut. 674 head of 6-weight steers averaged 642 at 185.34 on the weighted average. Wow. Go down and pick up some heifer calves. 807 head of 5-weight heifers averaged 555 at 164.47. Be hard pressed to get the steers to average that in a lot of sales. But look at some individual quotes. Look at some feeding steers here. 134 head of 835-pound steers in Ogallala bring 155.50. Now look at some stockers bound for Kansas and some good blue stem grays in there, but coming out of western Nebraska, 155 head of 610-pound steers bring 205. And that's a real deal. That's not a misquote. 610-pound steers at 205. That's your feeder flash for Friday.